2 months ago, a very fascinating thing happened. A person reached out to me on Twitter, or actually, he was sending me an email. Let's call him Jimmy. Jimmy sent me an email, introduced himself, that he has a very strong background in finance. He's been working in Goldman Sachs. He's originally from Europe, but he was studying in London, and then he moved to USA, New York City. He was working there. From there, he moved on to work for various family offices, one in Asia, one in Europe, one in USA, if I am correct. And from there, he decided to become like a solo investor, solo private equity investor. And now he consults those family offices. This is one job. And number two job is for him to being an investor himself. We had a few calls before he actually made a decision to come and visit 7 small businesses with me. 2 weeks ago, he reached out to me, said that, okay, Mikk, I'm going to visit you, and let's go and see those businesses which you have in the pipeline. And it was a really busy few weeks as we're raising funds for our consumer lending business. At the same time, I had to set up meetings with those small businesses, small niche manufacturing businesses. The size of those businesses, revenue between 1 to 5 million. Anyway, he came here. On Monday, we had 3 meetings, and on Tuesday, we had 4 meetings. A little bit about this independent investor. His recent acquisition or deal was a $30 million investment into a company which does like 170 million in revenue. And there are some other previous acquisitions and investments he has done, mostly in Europe, as I understood. And the companies, of course, running businesses around the world. And he's a person who constantly travels from London to New York City, to Middle East, and different countries in Europe. So it was a fascinating experience for me to see how a professional investor really works, and what it is required to be really, really good at this game. He's in his 30s. I can say that he's definitely someone who's doing deals worth hundreds of millions in the very near future, because he's playing the long game as well. He's really spends a lot of time with family, and overall very healthy, very happy, and very relaxed human being. So let's get started. I pretty much took different notes while visiting those companies, spending time with him. We had an awesome dinner with him. We went to had the launch, and I paid for that, and then afterwards he said that if you're gonna pay for anything else on this trip while I'm here, I'm not showing up to the meetings. I'm not showing up to the uh, to the um, to the dinner in the evening. So very generous guy overall. The notes I was taking while spending 2 days with him. Number one, people are lazy. How many people have traveled here to visit you and your companies? And my response to that, well, you're the first one. And that's why I'm probably so excited doing this a short overview of what I've learned, because many people have reached out to me on Twitter. All those things have pretty much happened within the last 30 to 60 days, and he was one of them. He said that most people in life, they're lazy. People don't want to do the work. People don't want to do what's hard. And he said that he has kids at home, and still he decided to take this almost 3 days to visit me, and spending time away from his family and kids. So don't be lazy. And this is an excellent lesson for myself as well. Every time I feel I should be doing something, I probably have to do it, because when I'm not doing this, I'm the lazy guy. And now every time I'm thinking about this and what he said to me, it's like, okay, I better do stuff because other people are lazy. So next, he works with people who were supposed to take their company public for $2 billion, but it didn't happen because of the war in Ukraine. He's a shareholder in this business as well. And 2 founders who he works with should have made 500 million each. I asked from him actually, like, how do you feel, and what's your opinion? And now, as the deal didn't go through, and his response was quite fascinating. He just said to me, "Nothing has changed. We're just enjoying the game, and more importantly, only worry about things you can control." And this was the conversation we had before we went to a dinner. We were in a taxi, and he shared this story, and I was just asking, like, how do you feel? Because these people, imagine making 500 million each if they would sell their stock. I mean, this is like a life changing money wherever you live. How do you feel? And the response was, as I said, like, nothing hasn't changed. Life just goes on. We're just enjoying playing the game. The secret is, I assume, being together with, spending time with people like this. It's just enjoying the game. And the sooner you find what you really like doing, that's it. It's game over. You just keep doing what you're doing, and more importantly, only worry about things you can control. They really can't control that this happened, and they just focus on keep building the business. So next note, Mikk, he pretty much asked from me, Mikk, what are your strengths? What is the 0.0001% thing you are very best at, and focus on that. Mm, and my response that I couldn't give him a response. Let's be honest, with such a short time, and I've been thinking about this for a couple of days now. And what are the strengths? I think this comes up very soon as well. I'm like a hustler. I'm probably not the smartest guy on earth, and when it comes to finance, but I've seen that my strength probably is finding the right people, and interacting with those people, and hopefully having the skill set of putting together a group of people who really want to accomplish something. And this is probably my strength. And of course, sales. I've been doing that for. I'm 30 now. I've been doing that for the past almost 10 years, I think. What else? And now building publicly on Twitter, more and more different opportunities have come up, opportunities of meeting people, of opportunities of having to travel to uh, places in Europe to meet people, to even present of what I'm trying to do here. I think this is my strength. I'm just probably not giving up when there is something I really enjoy doing, and that has always been the case, even with sports. Eventually, I gave up the dream of not wanting to become a professional athlete, but I just one moment found out that I'm not gonna be the very best, and not even close to the best, because in volleyball, one very specific and important skill is the reception of the service, and I wasn't really good at it. When they're good guys, their average is like, let's say, 50-60%. You take like 10 serves, 5-6 are excellent. In my case, it was maybe 3, if that. And I'm a short guy when it comes to volleyball. I'm 1 meter 91 centimeters, when the tall guys are 2 to 2.5, and they're really good at in this reception. And I understood that, okay, it's time for me to move on. Again, when it comes to the strengths, I just probably don't give up. And now, as we've been building the consumer lending business and the holding company for the past 2 years, it's been extremely tough. But I'm still doing this because I'm really enjoying doing this. So the strength is to put together a group of very talented people and accomplish awesome things, because we are really early in our journey. I just turned 30, so we have a lot of time to do that. Next thing, what he said, raising money is fucking hard. Sorry for the language, but that's what he said. Raising money is fucking hard. Closing a deal is fucking hard. Anyone who says otherwise is either lying or selling you something. This was something I asked like many questions, because I don't have the big four experience. I haven't worked in a PE firm. Like, how long it takes for you, if you find an interesting deal, how long it takes for you to close the deal. And he said that it could take even a year. When there is a massive interest both sides, it could take even a year, because he he was constantly on the phone closing different deals, talking with people. What I saw and what he said was that everything takes time. It's just the nature of it. And whoever says that you can close a deal within a month or two, it's a rare thing. It's an exception. Usually, people who say that, people who promise that, they're probably selling you something. Next one. This was very, very interesting. Remember people's birthdays. Under a person's contacts on the iPhone, in each person's notes section, he had like tons of notes about this person, what they've been talking about, also the names of their family members and even their pets. I asked like, why do you do this? His take was very simple. I want to remember stuff. Next time you meet someone, you right away know that what exactly you were discussing during the last conversation. He even showed me a few WhatsApp messages to people where he congratulated a friend who he hadn't seen for a long, long time, and the response from the friend was quite funny. How the fuck did you remember my birthday? Very simple. I think one of the messages he sent to his friend or ex-colleague was that happy birthday XYZ, and how is Reno doing? And Reno was the dog of this person, and this guy was again like very, very surprised on how did he remember the name of his pet. This was the lesson I learned over the dinner we had, because we were talking about the importance of remembering such things and the importance of remembering things which are important to people, which is their name, which is their birthday, which is the names, and even the health of people really close to them. People will remember you if you do such things. Interestingly, he speaks 4 languages. While driving around in the city from meeting to meeting, he was talking in French, he was talking in English, he was talking in 2 other languages. So, next note, Mikk, you're a hustler, which is good, but you need to learn and understand the numbers. You gotta understand the numbers like OPEX, CAPEX, ROI, ROI, ROIC, ROCE, etc. And there's so much more. And he even said to me that he knows a thing or two, but there are people who are next level. And it's not just enough of you that you're saying you're going to buy a traditional business and you're going to grow that. Important to know. I understand those things which I just mentioned to you, but there are like many, many levels. One of the level is that when we were meeting with the consumer lending business, this is completely different animal, which I don't really have much experience. And my job there has been raising capital and sales part of that, finding merchants and selling different payment services to them, which is buy now, pay later, bank links, credit card payments, and the lending part, one of that, and installment payments. But when it comes to the numbers, I've always been like a messenger and connected people with our CEO or CFO. When it comes to the traditional businesses, I understand much more, but still there are different levels. As he told me, and he said that you need to understand things such as when a company acquires machinery, you should know right away what is the ROI of this investment, and if you make such decision, why do you make this decision? And what's interesting when meeting with those businesses, as I said, traditional businesses, niche businesses, revenue between 1 to 5 million, even the CFOs and even the bookkeepers of those businesses, they didn't know those numbers, because when we were on the meetings, the investor was asking those questions, and they didn't really know this. And it's interesting because they're running successful businesses, 5 million revenue, 300,000-400,000 euros dollars profit. It's a good business, and they're living a good life, but still they didn't know those things. When talking with those institutional investors, for example, you need to know this stuff. Next note, one of his friends bought, I don't say the industry, but he bought, it wasn't a software, it was a traditional business, and he bought the business for $1 million, and it was doing 1 million in revenue and 110,000 in profit. And the seller thought it was $110,000 in profit. In reality, the profit was like $350,000. So the seller thought that selling the business for 1 million, he thought that he made a 8x multiple, which in reality was just 3.5x multiple. And such deals exist. And the main issue there was that the seller didn't know the numbers, didn't understand the numbers, and the buyer, he was extremely savvy guy when it came to numbers and finance and all this, and he found such deal. And you have those on the market if you keep looking for those. This was his lesson to me, that you really need to understand the numbers so you would never be in a situation what happened with the seller. This next one, absolutely the biggest lesson I wish I had learned 10 years ago. There are a lot of great deals out there. Patience is a virtue. And this he probably said to me 5 times over this 48 hours we spent together. The biggest lesson I wish I had learned 10 years ago, there are a lot of great deals out there. Don't make this mistake of acquiring a bad business or investing in a bad business, because there are enough good deals out there, and don't make this mistake. This next one, he told me at the very end of our meeting. So their bar is very, very high. I mean, the type of investments they make, it has to be like, as he said, it has to be screaming, uh, screaming in a way that it's so good, and it's like such a no-brainer of a deal. And he was talking about 2 times EBITDA, 2.5 times EBITDA, and it was sometimes even a bit like extreme cases. The reason maybe people sold their businesses because of being under sanctions, or examples like a owner woke up one morning and he was blind from one eye. And of course, if things like this happen, you're willing to sell your business very fast for quite a low multiples. And again, such deals happen to be out there. You have to be extremely patient, and it really depends of what type of strategy you're really um, following or implementing with your if you're with your investment company. But again, their bar is very high. Interestingly, and not even surprisingly, they are looking for no-brainer deals. A company with a moat, or a brand, or a strong competitive advantage, or some type of IP. A high return on invested capital at a very, very, very attractive price. And again, surprisingly, there are deals like that out there. And this is good to hear that for me as well, being someone in a very early in our journey, and having this patience of actually looking for those excellent deals. Now, a bit more general notes about him. He spends a lot of time with his family. He works a lot, but every time he's at home or not working, he pretty much spends time with his family. Even in between the meetings, when we were driving, as I said, from one meeting to another, he had calls with his wife and children, and I constantly hear those conversations, and it's nice, and it's extremely important if you're playing the long game, and you have the support from your family, and you're supporting them, and they understand why you're doing what you do. It's going to be so much more easier and much more fun. He visits a personal trainer twice a week. He eats healthy. Every time I said, would you like to have a coffee, he said no. Overall, very minimum alcohol. He's just really taking care of himself. During the meeting, he was taking notes, quite a lot of notes, as I saw. I didn't sit at the same side of the table all the time, but he had his iPad opened with his keyboard, and he was taking notes. In the meeting, obviously, he was asking questions. And interestingly, he stayed quiet for quite a long time. He was just listening. He didn't interrupt the seller. And this is some of the lessons probably which I've learned during those meetings. And being a lifelong salesman, pause and the silence really is one of the best things you can do, because people, they don't like the silence, and they start sharing information which otherwise you probably wouldn't have. At least for example, in one meeting, we were just talking, and the seller was just talking and talking and talking, and the investor was asking a question, and then there was a silence, and then he said something very interesting. Our clients buy stuff from us because I'm their friend. Okay, but being a potential investor and And the buyer of the business hearing something like this is like quite a massive red flag. Another one, seller told us that 97% of the sales is coming from one partner. So another thing, what happens if, for example, this guy is selling the business and their biggest partner is like, okay, now as they sold the business, I don't need to buy those products from this guy. And what's going to happen with the business is if 97% of revenue comes from and sales comes from one partner, very dangerous. You don't want to do this deal. It's not one of those deals which the investor would say that this is an extreme bargain. This is an excellent deal at a very, very attractive price. This is definitely not one of those. What else? Again, I have the in a caps look in very bold. Mikk, there are plenty of great deals out there. This is something he said so many times that I start believing it. Next one. I have people who call me today and say they have a deal. I don't ask for anything and I transfer money to them. I have this type of relationships and trust with very few people, but I have those people. And this is something I found extremely interesting as well. And obviously, it's only possible because he has either studied at university with those people or they've done a business together before. I don't know about this, but I this is what I believe. They may be getting along with each other's families, kids, maybe studying at same school. Their wives are friends or stuff like that. Could be. This is my. I just think it is like this. But he said that there are some people. If they're giving him a call today, he just transfer the money and he doesn't really ask what are you gonna do with this, and that's that type of trust. Interesting. Your first deal has to be very good. Once you make that happen, the rest is much easier. When people have trust and confidence in you, one person invests, others follow. If you raise capital from many different investors, one moment, if you've been giving great returns and you're an honest guy doing good business, paying on time, doing all those things, people don't really spend too much time on doing a background on you. And what I mean in here was pretty much quite the same like the previous note, which when people calling him saying that there is a good deal, I'm just saying a random number like $500,000 tomorrow. You're just sending the money and you just trust those people, and this is possible. And it was very interesting to hear that such levels really exist. Next one. This is again what he said at the end of our journey, our 2-day journey. I'm only one guy, and that's just my opinion. I could be completely wrong. So all those things he said, there's a lot of truth, 99.999% of truth, but we are all different people and we see opportunities differently. And this is something you really need to understand. And that's something probably what I've learned while talking with various different people, various different investors, that people see things differently. The motive for people to invest in different businesses could be completely different. One people thinks it's an excellent investment. That's why they're making this. Another person just does it because they just really believe in you. The deals he's trying to find might be a bit different than what we want to do, and obviously the multiples. He just looks those extremely great deals where he gets a company at a very, very, very attractive price. Yes, we would like to do the same thing, but sometimes when you're finding an excellent operator, you probably have to pay a bit more than 2.5 or 3 times EBITDA. That's just what I've seen. Overall, he was extremely polite and professional, always on time. Many times during the day, I dropped him off to the hotel so he could do the other work he had to do. But meeting again, like 3:15 p.m., he was always on time, 5 minutes earlier. And this is something I saw during the meetings as well. And for the most meetings, we were like 10, 15 minutes earlier there. And he said it's better be early to be late. These were the things we were discussing, and these were the notes pretty much which I gathered. And it was a fascinating experience for me. And as I said, for many people, it was, to be honest, very uncomfortable for me to spend 2 days with a person like this, because I didn't really have experience of what to expect. One of my biggest uncomfort came from a few meetings where the business owners, these are like, I'm just giving you an example, few guys in their late 50s, and they probably never have seen this type of investors, because during the introduction I always introduced him as of who he is and what he does. And this level of, for example, the last acquisition was like 30 million, or the last investment was like $30 million investment into a very large business which does like 170 million plus in revenue. People who we met, they've been just doing this small business, which is totally fine, by the way. Just having this revenue between 1 to 5 million, it's a very small business compared to a business which does 170 million. And they probably felt a bit of pressure. The presentations they give, where sometimes they start selling all those various ideas which didn't even have nothing to do with their main business. This made me a bit uncomfortable as well, because I didn't want to waste his time. But again, he was just another thing he said to me many times was just, Mikk, I'm just keeping an open mind. I'm just keeping an open mind. I don't care where we go, what we do. I know you have like the deals for me, at the meetings for me. I'm just keeping an open mind. Don't really worry of what's going to happen and what's going to come up with this. And this took a lot of pressure off for me as well, because again, it was my first experience. Now I know much better of what I have to do next time, and I got my lessons. Overall, it was excellent experience and a lot of great feedback for myself as well on how to be a better, even better salesman, even better, uh, hopefully, decision maker, and a host. Most things I think I did very well. So I think the 48 hours, not I don't think, but it went very fast, and can't really wait once he's back here or someone else would like to visit the the companies. That's it for today. I really hope I hope you enjoyed this short overview of my lesson from a person who's actually doing very big things. Thanks a lot for following, and see you in the next episode.